Welcome, everyone. It is so wonderful to see your beautiful smiling faces. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm saying all of that because we have people from around the world, which is a strong indication of Michael's love that we are all one, especially today. Today is Heal the World Day. And what that means is MJJP, Buds, wave your hand. There's Buds. We're from MJJP. Let me get all the J's in there. And we are sponsoring today's event. And we hope at some point today, you go out and play Heal the World for your neighbors. So you can open a window, you can sit on your front stoop, whatever it is. I know it's past 7 p.m. for some of you, so you could do it at any point. So we just have a couple of rules about today's chat, because there will be more than 45 of you in the chat. So, but you want to go over some of the rules?
Well, if everybody shows up, we had 55 people request this meeting, so sometimes they don't show, things happen. But we're going to have everybody's mics muted except for us three. Of course, Harrison has to be speaking. So, and then afterwards, if there's just a few people
would love to mute me.
Oh, no, we're not muting you.
Well, you and I are in the same club. Right? The people want to mute me too. But
Yeah,
okay.
me and you. You know what? The haters would love to say shut up. I'll tell you that.
Not today.
That's why we're doing this in a little intimate setting, so that we can just have a good time. If there's just a few people later after Harrison finishes, we might open the mics and be respectful of each other's speaking. Otherwise, you can ask your question in the chat while he's talking if something comes into your head and you want to ask, and then we'll review the chat and ask the question after he finishes. I would just like to say that Mel and I have known Harrison for quite a few years, and he's such a lovely fellow, and he just loves Michael so much. And he has told us some stories that we haven't shared, because some you're not supposed to share. So we respected that. But he has great long-term friendship with Michael. So it's going to be very a loving session that we're having here. So I'm glad you all came. And I think I covered everything. Just make sure you put your name and country in the chat if you haven't already, so we can keep track of who showed up. And because we're gonna try to have more of these sessions throughout the year with different people to speak to the fans directly. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a great thing for Michael to spread more of his love around the world.
Exactly. And these people that we'll invite, we'll do one of these in May and another one on June 25th. And these are people that were important in Michael's life. So we want to bring them to you and have you ask questions, appropriate questions.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to get started with that. And I want to introduce our special guest. His name is Harrison Funk. He's waving at all of you. He's a world-renowned photographer. He is the one that captured the essence of Michael Jackson, who he was, what he meant to the world, and what we meant to him. So I want to open the floor to Harrison. Hi, Harrison.
Hi, Mel. Hi, everybody. I just want to...
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just want to say I hope everybody out there is weathering this awful pandemic well. I hope you all are keeping 6 feet apart, wearing masks, and not going out more than you have to. And I just I pray for everybody and hope that this ends very, very, very quickly. I have a feeling it may not, but I hope that it does. And I know that if Michael were here today, this would be on the top of his mind. I will say that we had discussions back as far as the 80s about how little time this planet has. And that's why he wrote Earth Song and heal the world. And as far back as I can remember to We Are the World, Michael was concerned about people and the planet and concerned about the well-being of everyone on this earth. I personally think that a lot of people didn't like that. And I think that those of you out there who are keeping his legacy going are the most wonderful people on the planet for doing so. Because I know you do, and I appreciate that. I have to say that he probably would have been too shy to appear next to me. I would love to have seen him here. I know he would have a lot of things he would have done. I think, especially with regard to heal the world, with regard to healing the planet. Michael was a great philanthropist as well as a great humanitarian. And, I think that it would have broken his heart to see what's happening, what has been happening in New York. I want to shout out to Governor Cuomo for his wonderful fireside chats every morning. We get them in the morning. I don't know when do you get them in New York, Mel? In the afternoon?
We get, Cuomo comes on around 11:30 in the morning. So
okay, so we get them really early.
Yeah. So
we get him early here in Southern California too.
Yeah, of course.
I listen to him rather than the other one.
Well, the other one is just a national embarrassment. So,
let me ask our first question.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Don't get
Biden 2020. What? I'm sorry.
Don't get me started on the other one. Anyway, with the pandemic, Harrison, why do you think that people are responding to heal the world?
Oh, for the obvious reasons. What I just said. That Michael wrote that song because he said we have a limited amount of time before this planet collapses, and we're doing it to ourselves. Make a better world for you and for me, and it's the same message effectively as Man in the Mirror. It's the same message, that it starts with you. And I hope I don't hear reports of any of the fan world. I'm kind of trying to lighten this up a little bit, although I will get very emotional about this. Here in Texas, as I've told Mel and Buds the other day, people are so prideful that they're pushing and shoving in the grocery stores and not paying attention to this, this national rule of giving international rule of 6 feet of distance. In Europe, in some countries, and I'd love to have somebody respond to this at some point. I understand that in some countries they're saying as much as 13 feet distance because of concerns about the virus being airborne. All I ask for you, and I ask this on behalf of Michael because I know he would have felt this way. We all want to give each other hugs. We all want to love each other. We all want to be close to each other. But now is not the time to do that. Now is the time to be cautious. These governors opening states, I don't think I don't think Michael would have gotten political, except in private, but I think that these governors opening states hastily are making big mistakes. And I think that, this is not going to heal the world. But stay calm. It's up to you.
And one of the nice things, Harrison, and this is what today is all about, why Buds and I wanted to do this Zoom chat, is that we can hug each other virtually. So so this is just major love going out to everybody in the chat room today.
It's a great thing. I want to introduce somebody who's on this chat with us. I don't know if you can see him, but my very good friend David Valdez, who
Well, I'm
was
gonna unmute him now. He can talk. Hi, David.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for doing this, Harrison.
Oh, thank you, David, for that. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that, man, because you took one of the more famous pictures of Michael, and it was a pleasure being in the White House with you that day. And I have to say, yeah, there it is.
There's the picture. Oh,
There we go.
There we go.
yeah.
So that's in the Oval Office with Michael Jackson and George Herbert Walker Bush, who was the president at the time, who I worked for, and where I actually met Harrison eons ago. And now we don't live that far apart, and it's great because we get together every once in a while. We met again through some mutual friends of ours, and at a car event, and Harris and I got together, and we were having this conversation just about the stories that we both had, and we had a crowd around us listening to our conversation, and it was just really a lot of fun. And you know, it's great to reconnect with Harrison, and it's great to connect with all of you this way too.
David,
You know
can I
what?
ask you a question? How can you explain or sort of describe when Michael went to the White House to meet President Bush?
Well, you know, a lot of famous people get in to meet the presidents, and that was just one of those things. I don't really remember the specific reason he was there, but we had a private meeting in the Oval Office, and then actually went out into the Rose Garden and had a larger event. And it was really a lot of fun, you know, because Michael was so hugely internationally famous, and everybody, we always had a rule as White House staff people that we could never ask anybody famous for an autograph. And, you know, everybody was scurrying around because everybody, you know, wanted to get a little bit of Michael Jackson, and no one could. But I was able to, you know, at least capture a photo that I've cherished all my life. So that was special for me.
I will tell you a story about Michael going to visit President Reagan in the White House. That was the first time he went officially, I believe. I don't think he ever saw President Nixon.
No.
His first visit was Reagan.
His first visit was Reagan, and so he was in the Oval Office, and Michael, being very curious, started looking at the china in some of the display soffits in the Oval Office, and he's turning them around, and he's seeing things on the back of them. He's trying to see where they were made, or whether there's any maker's mark on them, and a Secret Service agent comes rushing over to Michael. Mr. Jackson, please, those are very, very old and very valuable, and very delicate. And he takes what Michael saw on the back was recording device stuck to the back of one of the plates. Michael had no idea and asked me later, why was he so concerned about that? Because you're not supposed to know they exist, Michael. I don't know if the same thing was true, not with Michael's behavior, but I don't know if the same thing has carried through. I imagine that the president, that all presidents have had some.
Well,
some way.
you know, Harrison, a funny thing, you know, President Nixon was famous for the Nixon tapes.
Yeah.
Well, the tape recording machines were in the closet in the White House photo office, which was my office. And so I was there years later, but you could see where all the plugs were, and where they had the recording machine. So it was always kind of interesting to have that little bit of history, a remnant of that in my White House photo office.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Think about it. Michael's curiosity was very cat-like, I have to say. Michael, wherever he went, was curious about whatever, if he saw something that was old, if he saw something that was unique, he wanted to know all about it. And sometimes conversations, with Michael digressed into those directions. It was very interesting, how he would ask questions that most people were, even though he was shy, he would ask questions, or he asked one of his entourage, one of us, to ask the question that he didn't really feel comfortable asking. It's interesting, I think his curiosity is probably what made him so concerned about people and the earth and the planet. And he was very anti-war. I think he was a great lover of history. He read pretty much everything he could get his hands on. And nothing that he would do surprises me, especially turning over plates or artifacts in the Oval Office. But I know that President Reagan and Nancy both were enthralled by his visit. At least President Bush. By the way, I saw somebody typed in which President Bush. I think it was somebody from China, and it was President H.W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush in office.
Senior.
So, in answer to your question, sorry, Buzz.
He's the senior. He's the one that named Michael a point of light as well.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
1,000 points of light.
So Harrison, can I ask you about, I'm noticing that beautiful picture behind you.
That
Which
was
one?
That was the first thing I saw.
Hold on, this one.
That one.
That one. This
Yeah.
picture.
Can you
was
tell us
shot-
about that picture?
This was shot in my studio in LA, and it was a promo for Heal the World.
Mm.
And there were all sorts of thoughts at the time of putting a graphic of an Earth, of the same graphic of the Earth that David has behind him, as a matter of fact, which is a NASA image. There were thoughts about putting that behind Michael, and doing. I think Sony wanted to do an ad for Heal the World, and then it got shot down by somebody. I don't remember who. It never came to fruition. And then Michael and I talked about what to use this picture for. And I asked him if I could use it on a promo card that I was sending out to clients. He said, yeah, sure. Go right ahead. So the only people that saw it for years were people that I was, promoting to for my business. And I think that it got used in a tour program, but I'm not 100% sure, on history,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But when Michael passed, I was presented with the task of doing the program book for the memorial, which I have on the other side of my office, but I can't turn the camera to it easily, because there's things in the way.
One of our friends has it. She's Alejandra Rivera. She's got the program. Can you show us again? There it is.
There it is. Yes.
I wish I could see it, but yes, it was. So we had to. So Catherine said to me that she had a few favorite pictures of Michael that I took, and I was blown away. I never knew this. She told me this the morning after he passed away, and asked how we could use them. And I said we could use all of them. There were, Michael gave me the rights to 200 and some pictures. I don't remember how many exactly. I think it's 240. And I don't remember, there was no significance to that number. So any of you numerologists out there, don't try to find some significance to that number. There is no significance. But we went through those pictures because I had access to them immediately.
So, Harrison, Sandra from, I don't see the country, but Sandra's asking whether those prints are for sale and whether she could buy one.
Yes, they are. Contact anybody that's interested, and I'm doing something with the MJ Innocent
Shawnee.
people,
Mm-hmm.
Shawnee O'Kane and Annika. We're going to be launching a website, or they're going to be launching a website that I'm helping them with, and the pictures will be available through that website, or if you want to contact me directly, my email address, and oh my goodness, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but let the world know. My email address is studiofunk, STUDIOFUNK @me.com.
They also can go to your website, correct?
Yes, you can go to my website. You can't order anything, but nobody can order anything without contacting me first. But I do sell limited edition prints. They're not dime store prints. They're not what you would buy on Hollywood Boulevard, although I know people have stolen my images and mass produced them, and they're still doing that. Cynthia, I will try. I don't know how this works, but the website is really easy. I'm seeing people writing in, so I'm answering them as they write in. My website is Harrison@HarrisonFunk. I'm sorry, it's
HarrisonFunk.com.
HarrisonFunk.com. Yes.
I got you, Harrison.
Thank you. So, yeah, thank you. Who was that from? That's from. Oh, I didn't see. Okay. Thanks, Buds.
So if anyone has other questions, now's the time for you to type them into the chat box, and Buds and I will read your question to Harrison.
Do you want me to show some pictures?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Can I ask you something real quick, Harrison? This question has been coming up on my timeline for years, so maybe you know the answer. Michael used to autograph pictures with 3 little circles and an arrow in 1998. Do you know why he did that? Because people have so many stories about it.
Hey, Buds.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you a question. Can you keep a secret?
Of course, you know I can.
And the 45 people here. Go ahead.
So can I.
Okay. All right. So it's a secret. All right. Good. Okay.
Michael's. There are a couple of different ways Michael autographed pictures, or just did autographs.
Uh-huh.
One of them is the 3 lines with the circle, that looks like a hint, sun radiating light. Okay,
Right.
there was 99. I think was it 99 or 90? 99.
Yeah, I've only seen the 1998 one with the
98. Thank you. I'm getting old. I'm sorry.
Harrison, Yanni wants to know what kind of film, what kind of camera do you use?
Okay, so when I was shooting Michael, I started out using Canon cameras. I was endorsed by Canon, and they sponsored me for many years before the Explorer of Light program existed. So I was using Canon F1s with their FD lenses up until 1988, when I made an arrangement with Nikon to do pretty much the same thing. At which point I had a Nikon F3. I had 4 F3s that I traveled with. I had, I forget the other camera. It was a lesser, well, it wasn't really a lesser camera, but it didn't have all the bells and whistles of the F3. And that was, and I've used Nikon ever since. I also use Hasselblad, and no endorsements here, but I mean, I have, you know, I use whatever equipment is warranted for the job.
Okay, so Sandra wants to know, what is your favorite picture of MJ?
The one I'm looking at, whichever one. No, actually, here's a little thing about photographers. To a great degree, most photographers are very critical of their own work. I fall into that category. So I will look at a picture, and Emily, I'll answer that question in a second. That's brilliant. But I will say, I was always very critical of my work, and so I have a few favorites. I'm going to show you some of them right now. I can't say that I have one specific favorite. Emily asked me, I just saw it come up on my screen. What was it like to be in the presence of Michael? It was unbelievable. You know, you talk about light. Michael was a perfectionist, but he was also, he was light in a sense of brilliance that I've never seen from anybody else. His smile would light up a room, which is why I shot him or photographed him so many times smiling. And, you know, a lot of his other pictures were serious. I always wanted to capture Michael smiling, and I always wanted to capture his glowing eyes.
And he had a beautiful smile.
He did. He really did. I remember that smile to this day, you know, and when I am down, I will look at a picture of Michael smiling. It'll just...
Yeah. In the chat room, someone is asking, I'm sorry, I missed the name, but they want to know the story behind the picture of Michael with Nelson Mandela and Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, hang on. I think we're talking about, wait, get to it. So y'all can see it. Oh my God, did I say y'all?
Yeah.
I'm on the
Yeah.
tech.
You've
I'm
been
a New Yorker.
too long.
It's okay. Now you're a Texan. Now you're a Texan. It's okay.
We don't say that, New York. Okay. There's the picture. Nelson Mandela was coming to the U.S. to do a speaking tour in 1993, pre his election, and I have cats. Cat hair just fell in my mouth. I apologize. Very annoying. Anyway, Nelson wanted to meet Michael, and I had met Nelson when he was just released from prison, and photographed him for the first time in Frankfurt. NBC sent me to photograph him, and through a series of conversations with his people, and then with him directly, he wanted to make arrangements to meet Michael, and Michael wanted to make arrangements to meet him. And somehow this all came to me via Bill Bray and Bob Jones. And I said, you know, it's funny that we're talking about, they knew I'd photographed Mandela, and Madiba was someone I spoke of frequently. So did Michael. And I arranged to get the people that make these arrangements in touch with each other. And we sorted out a meeting with Michael and Mandela. Well, Mandela, what Madiba did was he brought his entire family that could travel to this meeting and left them in the hallway of the hotel. We arranged a room at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And I have to say, you know, Michael and his staff didn't, well, his Bill understood this, but the rest of his staff didn't really understand that when the Secret Service or Dignitary Protection Unit comes in and does a sweep, which is to make sure that the entire room is safe for their dignitary to enter, they ask everybody to leave the room and leave everything that you brought with you to that room in the room. So you have to leave whatever you got with you, you got to put down, and whatever you brought to the room, you got to leave it where it was. They bring in a couple dogs, and then they search the room, right, to make sure that, and sometimes, they are invasive. They sometimes do go into purses and bags, and I would say most of the time, actually. It's a very, it's a big ordeal, and it's done very quickly and very thoroughly. So Michael walks out in the hallway. We all walk out in the hallway. There are about 6 of us. And he says, "Is this going to take long?" He says, and he whispers something to me about one of the bags that he has in the room. And I said, "Don't worry." I said, "Anything that's in that bag will remain there as long as you have no plastic explosives, as long as you don't have any, as long as you didn't bring, an exploding apple or something else, not computer, but an apple. It'll be fine." And Michael looks at me. He says, "Oh, okay." He says, I'm not used to people just kind of walking in and invading the space. I said, "Well, the dogs are going to do most of it. You might find some nose prints on things, which is not unusual. And I can tell you loads of stories about that. But from covering presidents, and Michael was reluctantly fine with this, and then he realized that behind him, Nelson Mandela was standing, waiting to go into the room once they cleared it. And we were all in the hallway, and the Secret Service came out and cleared it, or Dignitary Protection came out and cleared it, and we all walked back in the hallway. Well, Mandela comes over to me and gives me a big hug. And I introduced him to Michael, completely ignoring protocol, because Bill and Bob had set up this whole protocol where, Madiba would be introduced to people in a certain order. And after Mandela came over to me and hugged me, I ignored the order. And Michael, by the way, donated a small fortune to Mandela's campaign fund that day.
Yeah, I heard that.
And so did Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth walked up as we were going back into the room, and she was very quiet, and nobody noticed her at first. And then all of a sudden, we all noticed her and introduced her. And so protocol completely went out the window. And we had this grandiose suite at the top of the Beverly Wilshire. I had set up a studio in one of the rooms of the suite so we could photograph Michael and Nelson. And as it turned out, I did a series of portraits of Nelson as well.
Do you have one of them there? Do you have?
I don't know what's in this box. I forget, but I'll look through it. By the way,
You have other pictures you want to show us too, right?
I do. By the way, Melanie, this is. Hold on, I'm trying to get to this.
Yes.
Oh.
Someone other than Michael, but
Yeah.
That's from the 1999 tour. That was in
beautiful.
1982. Here's one of the ones of Michael and Nelson. I have the portrait on the other side of the room again. Let me see if I can find, I don't know if there is one of the solo portraits in here, but maybe. Anyway, that was the story of the meeting of Nelson and Michael and Elizabeth at the Beverly Wilshire. And
Let me just remind everyone, if you have questions for Harrison, just type them in the chat room, and Buzz and I will do our best to get that question to Harrison. He can also, oh, Manu is asking, did you ever accompany Michael on any of his tours?
yes, Victory, Bad, a few dates on Dangerous.
Are there any stories you can share with us? Manu wants to know.
There are lots of stories. I don't know if I want to share them, but there are lots of stories. I don't know. I'm much better in context of a question.
Okay.
I'm much better answering in context of a question. There were, Michael, I will tell you that the best part of touring with Michael was probably his visits to children's hospitals. And seeing him interact with kids. I will tell you that one of my fondest stories was from the Victory tour. When this little girl, hold on, how was your access? You know what? Let me get that question again after I'm done with this story. So this was not here, but this was in Dallas. And this little girl came to the hotel before the show, and she was probably 16, I'm guessing. Anyway, she told us in the room outside of Michael's suite that she survived cancer because she met Michael. The doctors had given her almost no time to live. And she asked Make-A-Wish or some other organization back then. I think she was 12 when this happened. So it was 81, 81. And she asked to meet Michael Jackson as one of her last wishes. She met Michael, she went into remission, and she survived. And I believe she's still alive today. That's pretty good testament to the healing power of meeting the person that you love so much. It's amazing.
Beautiful. Harrison, they're asking to see more pictures. Do you have more pictures to show them?
Yes, I do. There's, okay, so some of you have seen, I think a lot of you have seen this picture.
Yes, that's a beautiful picture.
This was, it's been told to me, this was another picture that was never released up until Michael passed away. And his mother said to me that this was her favorite portrait of Michael. And I understand why. He looks so serene in that picture. He just looks at peace with his surroundings. But there's no, I would say it's not there's a lot of expression in the no expression. And I personally love this picture as well. So it's definitely, I would say it's one of my favorite portraits that I've done. Let's see, Michael getting his star on the Walk of Fame.
And the nephews are behind him, right?
Oh, you'd be amazed at who's behind him. There's the nephews. here, and Joseph up here, and Mayor Bradley, and Johnny Grant. These are LA institutions. Joe Wilcox is up here. Joe was one of Michael's videographers and cinematographers throughout the years. Unfortunately, he passed years ago. This is the other Patrick, I can't think of his last name, the other half of his film crew up here. This police officer, I forget his name, was promoted and became, I think he became a captain in LAPD a few years later. So, it's a look back in history. Oh, and next to Joe is Jack Colin, who was the deputy chief of police for LA. But I love, I love this because it is not only Michael history, it's LA history. Michael, I don't think they've ever seen as many people for a star ceremony in LA. And it was amazing. I got there really early thinking, I would have no place to park. In LA, they don't care who you are. There's no parking. You got to pay. And so I got there and I was thinking, okay, I'm early. What's going to happen? I don't have any idea of the schedule, positioning or anything. And I went over to the people from the LA Chamber of Commerce, or the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, who sponsor the star ceremonies. And I asked, what's going to happen? They said, you have complete access to whatever you want to do, whatever you want to photograph. You can move around as you please. And sorry. And just feel free to, to take whatever pictures you want, be where you want. Everybody will know. And of course, I'm timidly creeping up to the front past all the paparazzi. And all the paparazzi is screaming at me, "Get back, you're in our way, get back, you're in our way." And I think that may be why there are so few pictures out and about of this. There are some, but I think I might have been in the way of some of the paparazzi. Oh well, such is life.
Well, I got over it.
And somebody had asked about access, how much access I had with Michael when I was on tour. Complete and total access when I was on tour. I mean, certain protocols were kept in place. Like I'd have to knock on a door before I'd enter, like the dressing room, for example. And sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I just snuck in so I would get, a picture that was, private moment, for example. Most of my images are in the archive that the estate watches over. So I don't have access to most of my images. And I think that I probably, when we were choosing the 200 and some images that Michael gave to me to look out for, I think I hastily made those choices based on what I liked the best. And I think I chose a lot of images that were a lot of live images that I thought were exciting. I don't think I think I looked at photography, or I looked at my photography differently then than I do today. I have a lot more of those private moments captured on film that I actually have access to, from Janet from a few years ago. I think I learned a lesson by then.
We're getting close to wrapping up, but I want you to show some more pictures before we do.
Okay.
There's also a question from someone. She asked it a while back. Maybe you can she said, can you tell us a story about MJ laughing? He was laughing a lot, and I love those stories. I think those are the most beautiful pictures of him when he's laughing.
Well, here's a picture of Michael laughing with his brothers. This was a victory tour promotional shot. And I said to Michael, this was a Ferrari. And I said to Michael, jump up on the hood of the car. And Michael was wearing boots. And he was like gingerly getting up on top of the car. He got up on top of the car. Tito's opening a bottle of champagne, as you can see it. And it was, I kept yelling, "It's a wrap," And so Michael did a little bit of a move and realized that he was standing partly on the convertible roof as it came back. It tucks back, and he's standing on it. He realizes his foot with his boot might go through the roof. So he starts, I said, Michael, come on, show some more emotion. And he does it all with his upper body, raises his hands. And then, we shot 20 frames. And Michael said, Tito, can I have some champagne? And we all cracked up. But Michael laughing, it wasn't difficult to get Michael to laugh. All you had to say was certain things would just trigger his laugh. And one of my favorite things was he would laugh at the word butt. Not bud, butt, right? Shake your butt, Michael. And he'd start laughing. He had a sense of humor that was very childlike. It was very easy for me to go back to grade school in my head when I was around Michael. No, I don't have coronavirus. I have cats, and I have cedar fever. Cedar is a big thing in this part of the country, so I've been coughing like crazy, but I am not showing any symptoms. I will be around for a while.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. But anyway, so here's one.
Oh, Kermit.
Yep. And Jim Henson. Jim Henson came backstage during the victory tour at Madison Square Garden and brought Kermit with him. And I have to say, Kermit was one of my favorite subjects. He's a bit persnickety. He has a little attitude. He kept looking around saying, "Where's Miss Piggy? Where's Miss Piggy? Where's Miss Piggy?" I think she was supposed to be his date, and I think Jim became his date, unfortunately. Michael loved Sesame Street.
Yes.
And loved Jim Henson. And I was really sad when Jim passed away. But Kermit lives, so does Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
And okay, so here is Michael recording Bad
Yes.
at Westlake. Sorry. You can all see. And this is how Michael recorded. It was very, he was very serious about his recordings. And he took the whole process to heart in an amazing way. And he would sit back This was not during playback. This was actually during a vocal recording. He sat down and recorded his vocals. You can, oh, this one doesn't show the mic. There are some others from that sequence that show the mic, where Michael, you know, where the microphone is set up next to Michael, and he's just sitting there singing his heart out. It was amazing. And I asked him once, don't you get more power from your voice when you're standing up? He said, no. He said, you know, it depends on the song, and it depends on how I feel. And I said, it's very powerful, you know, but I can tell there's a kind of a difference. And he said, nonsense. There's no difference. You know, I listen to playback. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. That's a question for someone who was, you know, probably recording Michael. Bruce probably would have a great answer to that.
Bruce Swedien, yes.
Bruce Swedien, yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple more pictures. This is from Stockton, California in 1989. I don't know if any of you are from California, but Buds, you probably remember. This was one of the early school shootings
Yeah.
in America before Columbine. And Michael heard about this, and he started making arrangements to go there the night that it happened. He wanted to go the next day. And I got a phone call in the middle of the night. We're going to Stockton tomorrow. Okay, what's in Stockton? And then I realized what was going on. I said, oh my goodness, are you going to that elementary school? And Michael said, yes, we're going to go and bring the kids some happiness, because they're, you know, they need it.
Yeah.
And I think it might have actually happened a couple of days later, because I think the school was on lockdown, or there was no school the next day.
Yeah, I believe the principal made a statement that his visit made a lot of the children feel like they could come back to school.
Yeah.
Because he was very loving, and he was so supportive, and really made them feel.
That's the principal.
Yeah, safe. Yeah.
So in the picture are the principal, Michael, and Bill Bray. And Bill, I want to say a word about Bill, because Bill.
Tell them who Bill Bray is.
Bill Bray, I'm getting, definitely. Bill Bray was Michael's chief of staff, Michael's head of security, Michael's other father. He had been around Michael since Michael was a kid at Motown. Bill used to work for Motown. And Bill was one of the most interesting people I'd ever met. He was the first African-American chief of detectives for LAPD. He was a man who championed rights, but was a tough cop. And he was so good to Michael that I will honestly tell you, was one of the few people besides Michael's mom that I would honestly say had Michael's back in every single occasion. So when Bill said something or did something, and we're talking about from the 80s, when Bill said something or did something, you listened, and you respected him. Bill and I were very close, and I really, there are a lot of things I want to say about Bill, but there was never a time when Bill wasn't looking out for Michael.
So Harrison, we have to wrap up, but we have time for one more picture. Because I know you have to go also.
Okay, hang on. Okay. This is my favorite picture of Michael.
Love that picture.
This picture has appeared on the cover of Life magazine, 2 Life books, as well as probably 30 or 40 book covers and a bunch of magazine covers in Europe and Asia as well. Probably, if anybody ever asked me what my favorite picture I've ever taken was, it was either this one or one of Freddie Mercury live, that I just love. But this is probably my favorite picture of Michael because it captures the essence of dance and performance more than anything else.
It's a beautiful photograph.
So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. Wait, let me look. There might be more down the bottom here.
Well, Harrison, we're going to have you back. That's clear because you have more pictures to show us. So
I do. Let me show you one more picture.
okay, go ahead.
May I,
Absolutely.
Melanie? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so during the Victory Tour, before performances, Michael and Jermaine applied their own makeup. And there were makeup artists on the tour, at times, but Michael really liked the way he did his own makeup. It wasn't heavy-handed. It was, and sometimes there were times it was blotchy. I mean, I'd see something before he went on. I'd say, please do your makeup again, or smooth that out. It was one day that I walked up to Michael backstage before. This was the opening from the Victory Tour, and I walked up to Michael before.
I love that picture.
They got set to do this.
I have that print. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do. And I took my finger and I smoothed out his nose. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not petting you, for God's sake. I'm trying to smooth out that blotch of makeup." And he had with him on stage, he had a little, I don't know what they call a little pot of makeup. And I said, "Give me that right now." And he gave it to me. I think that one of the wardrobe people, maybe Tony Villanueva, had it with him, and I put my finger in it. I went like that to his nose. I said, "Okay, you're fine now."
Did he laugh? Did he laugh?
Oh, he laughed. Yeah, he was trying not to crack up. And I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "You're fine. You look good. Don't worry about it."
Harrison,
who is that?
What was that?
Hi, I see a person.
Which person?
That's Deb Morris is waving at you.
There was somebody Asian holding a phone.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know who that was. Okay. What is this? Oh, thank you, Cynthia. This reminds me of, and I know we have to wrap it up, but this group chat reminds me of the one we did in LA on June 24th, a few years ago. I think it's now going on probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie?
What's that?
This reminds me of the Holiday Inn chat. The big
big room
met,
chat.
the room
Yes.
chat. Yeah, where
Yes.
I met the fans.
That was about 5 years ago.
It was 5 years ago. Yeah, it's amazing. That's Jinyu. You?
Yes.
If that's you, just say yes. Okay. Okay, good. Thanks.
All right, Harrison, we want to
all right.
thank you very much. If anybody wants any of Harrison's prints, you go to harrisonfunk.com. His prints are available, and they are beautiful. I own one. Actually, I own 2 of them, I think. And Harrison,
Thank you, David.
we clearly are going to have you back because there are more questions that we have time for today.
Oh, I would love to come back.
And I want to remind everyone, today is Heal the World Day. And what we're asking everyone to do is to either open up a window or go outside and play Michael's Heal the World. And it's dedicated to all the first responders and the essential workers. And it is important to share that message because it is so integral to what's going on right now. So if you do that, please take a picture or a videotape and send it to us. You all have our email, or we'll use the hashtag. And Bud, you want to tell them what the hashtag is?
Yes, it's Heal the World 4MJ, the number 4. And you can play anything that you want all day long, but play Heal the World at 7 p.m., please, out your window, in your backyard, or on your porch.
And some of our friends,
and
it's already past 7 p.m. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, especially our friends in China and Australia. I see you, Deb and Wayne. So you can play it at any time because it's already past 7 o'clock there.
I want to mention also here in Austin, my friend Sean, who runs the a number of car clubs and the Corvette Invasion particularly, and Sweet Rides, which is a really cool group of guys that get together and girls that get together with really nice cars. And it may be every night, I know on Sundays at least, at 6:15, they go up to St. David's Hospital in Round Rock and do a parade of cars. And I thought Sean was on here. I don't know if he is, or if he got the message back from Buds for access. But he was, if Sean is here, it might be cool to do that at 7 o'clock on the parade of cars. Have everybody playing "Heal the World."
Yeah, that would be great.
Their car
That
stereo.
would be amazing if that could happen.
That would be great.
I will talk to him about that directly if he didn't hear me.
Take some photographs or take video.
I don't think he signed in unless he's not on camera, which is possible.
Yeah. People are not on camera.
David, you'll say so too. Thank you. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank David for telling us the stories of the White House too.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, and then we want to thank everyone in the chat room because you all are amazing. We had, I don't know, almost 40 people in the chat room today. We're going to do this again on May 25th, I think the date is. And we'll have another guest, somebody who was important in Michael's life. And we're going to have Harrison back as well. So, because we've got more stories to share. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. For those folks who it's 2 or 1 o'clock in the morning, get some sleep or get a cup of coffee.
And everybody be safe out there.
Yes.
And be smart. Don't let yourselves get sucked into the idea that we're on the bottom side of the curve. Yeah, but it's not over yet. And the worst thing we can do is jump the gun. The worst thing we can do is let ourselves be fooled that this is not a big deal. It is a big deal.
It is.
And if you all are in the States, listen to Mario Cuomo every morning because he tells it like it is.
Andrew Cuomo, Mario.
I mean, Andrew. Oh my God! Did I say Mario?
You're dating yourself.
I am. I loved his dad. I thought his dad was awesome.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo, who is great governor.
Yes.
All right. So we want to thank you all. I'm going to be going out at 7 o'clock and videotaping it. Buds, you're doing the same.
I'm going to send you some love, everybody. This is our virtual hugging.
All right.
And I'll be out there at 7 o'clock playing Heal the World as well.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Harrison.
See you
Take care. Thank you, David.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Till next time. Love you.
Love you.